Hello Goosebumps fans, Mr. Goosebumps Fan 2000 here, and welcome to another Goosebumps video. Today's Goosebumps video is going to be about my favorite Goosebumps series, but it's not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 series. I have 5 favorite Goosebumps series in the Goosebumps franchise. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about 5 of my favorite Goosebumps series, and I'll tell you what I like about the 5 series and what's my opinion about them afterwards. Now these 5 series, I actually really enjoyed them as a kid, which I think that was the reason why Goosebumps is my favorite franchise. I love Goosebumps. Do you? So I figured, since they're my favorite Goosebumps series in the franchise, I thought, why not make a video about it? So, this video you're about to watch is another top 5 Goosebumps video. Here are my top 5 favorite Goosebumps series in the Goosebumps franchise. Let's get started. Number 5. Goosebumps HorrorLand, Arc 1. Goosebumps HorrorLand is a series welcoming Goosebumps fans to HorrorLand, which is a theme park, and R.L. Stine described HorrorLand as the scariest place on Earth, which turned out to be true because HorrorLand is a scary theme park with scary rides, like the Coffin Cruise, for example. I think this series was loosely based on One Day at Horrorland and the sequel, Return to Horrorland, since the series takes place in Horrorland. What I love about this series is that the series has 2 stories. One story was the plot, where we get to meet the characters, and then we read what the characters are doing and what's going to happen. And the second story takes place where the characters entered Horrorland. That actually only happens in the first 10 books, because Escape from Horrorland and The Streets of Panic Park, which is the 11th and 12th book respectively, instead of having 2 stories, those 2 books actually takes place in Horrorland. But I'm not complaining. Speaking of the characters, I love that in The Streets of Panic Park, that book actually has all the characters from the previous books, like Brittany Crosby from The Revenge of the Living Dummy, which is this book, Billy Deep from Creep from the Deep, and Carly Beth from The Scream of the Haunted Mask, as well as Lizzie and her brother, Luke Morris. All the characters from the previous Horrorland books actually appear in The Streets of Panic Park, which honestly, that's awesome. It's like a crossover where all the characters appear in one Goosebumps HorrorLand book. The fact that R.L. Stine wrote these books about the characters visiting Horrorland, that is a fantastic idea. R.L. Stine, you're a genius. Honestly, I think Arc 1 of Goosebumps HorrorLand is the best. Now, if you're wondering about Arc 2, aka the Jonathan Chiller era, well, I hate to say it, but Arc 2 was pretty average. I don't think it's the worst arc of the Horrorland series, but it is pretty average. I mean, I get that Arc 2 takes place at Horrorland, where the characters entered Horrorland before they met Jonathan Chiller. I understand that. But, to be honest, I like Arc 1 a lot better. I'm sorry, but it's true. The first arc of the Horrorland series is much better for me. I'll tell you my opinions of the books of the second arc. Heads You Lose, Slappy New Year, and The Horror at Chiller House, they're good. When the Ghost Dog Howls, Little Shop of Hamsters, and The Wizard of Ooze, meh. Weirdo Halloween, however, honestly, that one is the worst one. I don't like the character Bim. Bim is so freaking annoying, and that's one of the main reasons why I hate the book. Don't read Weirdo Halloween. That one is the worst book ever. Honestly, in my opinion, I think it would be better that if The Streets of Panic Park should be the final book in the series. Before the book was released, the original title of the book was going to be The Last Horror, which makes sense because Goosebumps HorrorLand was originally supposed to be a 12-book series. So yeah, The Streets of Panic Park was supposed to be the final book. But I guess that R.L. Stine realized that the Goosebumps HorrorLand series did very well, so he decided to write 7 more books. I think the first arc of the HorrorLand series are the best, and I highly recommend it. For Arc 2, well, honestly, no. Again, Arc 2 was pretty average. If any of you like Arc 2, I respect your opinion. But if you like both arcs of the Horrorland series, then that's good. But again, I prefer Arc 1 because it's a lot better. So which arc of the Horrorland series do you like? Do you like Arc 1 or Arc 2? Let me know in the comments. Number 4. Tales to Give You Goosebumps. Tales to Give You Goosebumps is a 6-book miniseries, and the books have 10 stories each. I have to admit, I originally don't like this series when I was younger. I don't know why, but as a kid, I used to find this series pretty dull. I think it's because I didn't like books that had short stories. For me, as a kid, I kind of prefer the singular stories, like Monster Blood for Breakfast, for example. But then, as I got older, I read these books again, and I realized this series is actually not bad. So I've decided to give Tales to Give You Goosebumps another chance. Now, I will say these books actually do have some good stories. Well, I know all the stories are not good. I know some of them were decent and others were horrible, but whatever. One of my favorite of the Tales series is More and More and More Tales to Give You Goosebumps. This one's my favorite because this book has Christmas stories in it, and Christmas is my favorite holiday. One of the things I love about the books is the covers. I love that all the books' covers in this series features Curly. I think it's because Curly is a popular mascot at the time in the 90s. The Goosebumps fans loves Curly, and you know what? I love Curly too. He's one of my favorite Goosebumps mascot. Now, honestly, I think it would have been cool that if some of the short stories in the books would have been turned into full stories. Let's say like The House of No Return, for example. That one is a good story, and that would have been cool if that would have became a full Goosebumps story. Either way, I think this series with short stories was honestly probably the best Goosebumps spin-off ever. And I highly recommend the Tales to Give You Goosebumps series. There are some good stories in these books. So yeah. Number 3. Give Yourself Goosebumps. Give Yourself Goosebumps is a game book series where you choose the story and pages. All the books in this series have over 20 endings. Honestly, I think Give Yourself Goosebumps is the best Goosebumps spin-off series ever because this series is a lot of fun. First, you read the beginning of the book. Then, a few pages later, you get to choose what page you want to go. If you decide to choose the page that you believe is the right decision, then you keep going until you get to the good ending. If you made to the good ending, then you survive. And the next thing is, you go to a page that you thought it was the right decision until you realize it was a bad idea. On this bad idea, once you get to the good pages that you thought it was a good ending, well, you're wrong, because you're going to the bad ending. If you get a bad ending, then that means you're dead. As a result, you have to start over. Now, if you're curious, that's actually what happened to me. First, I read the book, then I go to other pages until I made to the end, and I'm dead. Yep, I died. Though it makes sense because all the books in this series had a lot of bad endings, and they only have a few good endings. I would read the books again in order to get to the good endings, but I've decided, screw that, because otherwise I'll be dead over and over again. Now, I love this series so far, and there were some really good ones, like Purple Peanut Butter, Return to Terror Tower, All Day Nightmare, Trick or Trapped, etc. Well, either way, I highly recommend that you guys read all the books in this series because, again, this series is a lot of fun. But if you want to get to the good ending, well, good luck. But you have to be careful because there are a lot of bad endings in all the books. Good luck and have fun. So, before we get into number 2 and 1, here are some honorable mentions. Goosebumps Triple Header. Like the Tales to Give You Goosebumps series, this series had short stories, except there are only 3 stories instead of 10. Though it makes sense because triple in the title, which explains why they call the series Triple Header. Not much to say, but I will say same thing for the Tales to Give You Goosebumps series. Some of the stories in both books are good, others are honestly pretty decent. I don't think they're the worst. They're just pretty decent. Just before we begin to read the stories, I love that we get to introduce to Lefty, Slim, and Righty, which I'm guessing they're the Goosebumps mascots in this series. Slim, Lefty, and Righty are alright. They're not that bad. It's a shame that we never see them again. They only appear in 2 books. Either way, Goosebumps Triple Header is a good spin-off series so far. Goosebumps Presents. This series are basically novelization based on the original Goosebumps TV show in the 90s. I think all the books in this series are pretty cool, though I don't consider this series to be the best, to be honest, but they're still pretty cool. What's really cool about these books is that the pages of the books tells you what happens in the episodes of the TV show. What's also really cool is that it shows pictures from the episodes of the Goosebumps TV show as well. I kinda see why they make these books because the first 2 seasons of the original Goosebumps TV show did very well. The first 2 seasons had successful ratings-wise. So because the TV show did very well, they have decided to make these books, which honestly, that's a really cool idea. Again, I don't consider this series to be the best, but they're still pretty cool. The reason why these 2 series are not on the list, well, that's because some Goosebumps fans don't consider these 2 series as favorites. Like the TV books, for example. Some say that the books are pretty decent, and others say they're not that good, which that makes sense, and I can understand why. So, I've decided not to put these 2 on the list. If any of you don't like these 2 series, I respect your opinion. Alright, now, you may be wondering, why did I say before we get to number 2 and 1? Well, here's the problem. The problem is, if I talk about these 2 series separately, then there'll be a little bit to talk about. let's say for number 1, I would say, not much to say, but I will say the same thing for the previous series. Yeah, you don't want that, do you? So I've decided, why not talk about both series in one time? Well, yes, I know that's not how it works. I know that's not what you're supposed to do while making a top 5 Goosebumps video, but I don't have a choice. I mean, there's nothing I can do. So I've decided, why not talk about both series in one time? I'm sure it can't be that bad. Can it? Okay, so number 2 and 1 of my favorite Goosebumps series in the franchise are the original series and Series 2000. Honestly, I would consider both the original series and Series 2000 to be the best Goosebumps series in the franchise because they're both amazing series, and I think they're nostalgic for Goosebumps fans as well, which leads to the next point. There are 3 reasons why these 2 series are my favorites. 1 are because of the covers. The covers of both series are made by Tim Jacobus. The covers look amazing. I don't know how Tim Jacobus do this, but he did an amazing job on the covers. Number 2 was because the books in both series are nostalgic. There are some good books in both series like the Slappy books, Attack of the Mutant, Attack of the Graveyard Ghouls, Say Cheese and Die, The Ghost Next Door, Invasion of the Body Squeezers, Calling All Creeps, etc. Although, there were some books in both series that are not so good, like The Barking Ghost, Chicken Chicken, Revenge or Us, Scream School, etc. Yeah, those are not good books, but never mind that. And the final reason was because how scary some of the books in both series are. Well, yes, I know Series 2000 is much scarier and darker than the original series, which is true. However, there are some books in the original series that are scarier and darker as well, like Welcome to Dead House, Werewolf Skin, Piano Lessons Can Be Murder, Camp Cold Lake, Ghost Camp, The Haunted School, I Live in Your Basement, etc. Yeah, those books are really scarier and dark, though it makes sense because it's Goosebumps. Goosebumps is meant to be scarier. I think both of these series did very well, which explains why they made TV adaptations of these books. Well, not all of them. So yeah, I highly recommend both the original series and Series 2000 because these 2 series are the best Goosebumps series in the franchise. Yes, Give Yourself Goosebumps is the best as well, but these 2 series are still considered to be the best, so yeah. I highly recommend you guys read some of the books in these 2 series. Some of the books in these both series are really good. I think you're going to enjoy both of these series. Best Goosebumps series in the franchise ever. So yeah, and that's it. Alright, so thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, then please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.